The apartment in the city center cost half of what they should pay for something similar, and that was the first red flag that Daniel and Marina ignored. The realtor avoided eye contact when explaining that the last tenant had left suddenly. The young couple, with a tight budget, accepted the proposal without questioning. The property had 3 small rooms and a tiny bathroom that smelled of persistent mold. The yellowed walls told decades of neglect, but the location was perfect. Marina began organizing the boxes while Daniel inspected every corner, looking for future problems. It was in the bathroom that he found the mirror. The piece occupied almost the entire wall above the sink, framed by dark wood showing signs of moisture. The surface was covered by thick dust that barely reflected the light. More disturbing were the marks scattered across the glass, impressions of palms and fingers pressed hard enough to leave permanent traces. Daniel grabbed a cloth and cleaning product, scrubbing vigorously. The dust came off easily, revealing a crystalline reflection, but the impressions remained as whitish shadows etched into the glass. No matter how much he scrubbed, they wouldn't disappear, as if they were part of the mirror's own manufacturing. Marina suggested buying another mirror, but Daniel dismissed the idea. The budget was tight, and that was nothing more than a cosmetic defect. In the first days, Daniel used the bathroom normally. It was in the second week that he began to notice something strange. While applying shaving cream, he perceived that his reflection took a fraction of a second to follow his movements. The difference was almost imperceptible, as if there were a minimal delay between action and reproduction. Initially, Daniel attributed the sensation to fatigue. He was working overtime to compensate for moving expenses, but the lag became more evident. When he moved his head quickly, the reflection completed the movement an instant later. When he blinked, the image took time to close and open its eyes. Marina began to notice that Daniel spent more time in the bathroom in complete silence. She herself avoided using the mirror, preferring to get ready in the bedroom. There was something uncomfortable about that piece, a sensation of being watched. The situation escalated on a Thursday morning. Daniel was brushing his teeth when he noticed that his reflection smiled while he maintained a neutral expression. The smile was wide and unpleasant, distorting facial muscles in a way that didn't correspond to real movements. He stopped, watching fascinated and horrified, while the image continued smiling for several seconds. That night, Daniel tested the limits of the phenomenon. He made deliberate gestures, waving, pointing, making faces. The reflection reproduced, each movement with subtle delay, but occasionally added its own elements. A wave transformed into an obscene gesture. Grimaces became sinister smiles that lasted longer than normal. Marina found Daniel standing in front of the mirror at 2 a.m, completely motionless, observing his image with disturbing intensity. When he finally turned around, his eyes were red, as if he had spent hours without blinking. The erratic behavior of the reflection intensified. There were mornings when Daniel looked at himself and saw no image at all, just the empty bathroom reflected. On other occasions, the reflection appeared even when he wasn't in front of the mirror, moving freely across the surface. Daniel decided to cover the mirror with a large towel, securing the ends with adhesive tape. For a few hours, he felt genuine relief. The bathroom seemed normal again, but the relief was short-lived. That night, while watching television, Marina screamed and pointed at the screen. Among the news images, Daniel's face appeared smiling that same unpleasant smile. The image didn't correspond to what was being broadcast. The reflection began appearing on all reflective surfaces in the apartment. The microwave showed his distorted face even when turned off. The windows reflected his image during the day. Even Marina's phone screen occasionally displayed the reflection when she wasn't using the device. Marina began avoiding reflective surfaces, covering mirrors and turning electronic devices around. But the phenomenon adapted. She discovered that she could see the wandering reflection in the pupils of her own eyes when looking in any mirror, a microscopic but unmistakably present image. Daniel perceived that he was losing control over his own image. There were moments when he felt as if part of him was trapped on the other side of the towel, struggling to get out. The sensation was physical, as if something were pulling his essence through the blocked surface. In a desperate attempt, Daniel removed the towel. Immediately his reflection appeared, but it was different. The image seemed more solid, more real than Daniel himself. The eyes shone with malicious intelligence, and its movements were completely independent. While Daniel remained motionless, the image gestured frantically. The reflection pointed to different parts of the bathroom, then toward the door, indicating the rest of the apartment. Daniel perceived that the entity didn't just want to exist in the world of mirrors. It wanted to switch places, assume real life while imprisoning Daniel in the realm of reflective surfaces. Marina entered the bathroom and found Daniel conversing with his reflection, though she couldn't hear real words. What terrified her was perceiving that the reflection moved its lips at different moments, as if they were maintaining two simultaneous conversations. When she called her boyfriend's name, both Daniel and his reflection turned, but only the reflection smiled. That night, Marina woke up and found the bed empty. Daniel was standing in front of the mirror, but his posture was strange, too rigid. When he turned around, for a moment she had the impression that something was wrong with his eyes. They seemed to reflect light in an impossible way in the darkness. Daniel began acting differently in the following days. His movements were uncoordinated, as if he were learning to control his own body. He avoided reflective surfaces, but Marina caught him staring fixedly at the television's blank screen. When she followed his gaze, sometimes she could see a different face reflected, Daniel's real face, trapped and desperate. The truth was revealed one morning when Marina found Daniel practicing facial expressions in front of the uncovered mirror. The entity experimented with smiles, grimaces, and expressions, like an actor rehearsing. When it realized it was being observed, it turned with an almost convincing smile. Marina looked at the mirror and saw the real Daniel imprisoned on the other side, silently beating against the surface, pleading for help. His pressed hands perfectly matched the old marks, and she understood that Daniel wasn't the first victim. The marks were evidence of all the people who had been replaced by the entity. The creature using Daniel's face approached Marina, still practicing human expressions. She knew she had only moments before the substitution was completely finished, before no one else would know the difference, except perhaps the next tenant who would discover the new marks on the dusty mirror. Darkness hides in the details. If you made it this far, the story must have pulled you in. Leave a like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Alma Occulta and ring the bell. That way, you won't miss the next. Dive into terror and mystery. Until next time, if the night allows it.